Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Returning back to the show is Brent Zahradnik. How we doing, Brent? We good?
Doing great. Feeling good since the weather's cooled off. I'm sleeping much better.
And you're
So
still
I can't complain.
you're still in France where it rains less than 65 days of the year. Is that right?
Something like that. Although I think it is scheduled the next 3 days, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
we'll make it through. We'll struggle. It's all right.
Cool. So, do you want to explain to the audience, one, who you are, even though people would know you from previous episodes, and two, what the hell are we talking about today?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think it's been a minute since I've been on, but just for some quick background, I have a company called AMC Pathfinder. We've been running and managing Amazon advertising on all the different platforms that exist since 2015. Work with North America and EU businesses. There you go. That's all I need to know about that. What are we talking about today? AMC. So this is something that has taken up a lot of my mental space and time recently. And a lot of your audience has probably heard about AMS, Amazon Marketing Stream. That's a little bit different. Amazon Marketing Cloud is, I would say, bigger and overarching. And essentially what it is a platform that's free, available with Amazon now, although getting into it is a bit difficult. I guess we can talk about that. That allows you to do cross-media measurement. And that basically means you have ads running on DSP and within sponsored ads, even Seismic, which is a platform Amazon owns now. And you can actually tie that data together in this platform.
Cool. And where can seller is free, but where can sellers access it from?
So this is a bit of a trick question. The best way to do it right now is to probably work with a software company. We work with a company called XPN, a small startup out of Israel. Two really great guys who are heading that up, and they've been wonderful. But you can also, I think, work with PackView. I think George Marissa, friend of the show here, is working with them. There might be other companies that have access to it, but this is really cutting edge stuff.
Okay.
Now, the way that AMC works is it is like a very simple UI, and you basically run queries against it in SQL, which is structured query language. It's basically asking a database to do something for you, to go fetch some information. All the processing takes place on Amazon's side, and they send you back a nice like flat file or Excel file, whatever you specify.
Cool. So what can on it? Obviously, it can be very technical. What can we can discuss and break down what it does, but what can sellers get from this? Because I mean, you've gone down a rabbit hole with it, right?
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time with it.
By nature, you're quite geeky, like us at Databrill.
That's
but
right.
then that needs to translate to everyday seller who just wants to get on with selling, but wants the view from 10,000 feet and key things that they can do. So let's roll that out.
Sure. Let's first talk about who it benefits. So I think that advertisers who are spending a lot of money on advertising, specifically putting a serious budget towards DSP, and by serious, I mean, in excess of 7-8K USD a month, probably closer to 15 or higher, are those who would probably benefit the most from this. Longer term, I think everybody's going to benefit. So understand if you're in that profile, that's probably the right way for you to start. But what it actually gets you is this pseudo-anonymous event level data. So pseudo-anonymous means you can understand that this is consumer A. Now, you don't get their email address, their address, their phone number. You're not going to be buds with them, but you will understand that this is a unique customer. And because we have event level information, we know that this unique customer saw 2 ads on DSP, saw a video, came to Amazon 3 days later, clicked on a sponsored product ad that you would put up. Then they saw a sponsored display ad, and then they put your product in their cart, and the next day they purchased. So AMC actually lets you understand that life cycle of that customer and how they've gone through that whole sequence of events.
Touch points.
All the touch points, exactly. And that's actually what we call part of it, definition that I was taught by the guys at XPN, MT ROAS, multi-touch ROAS, right?
Okay.
That is what we're able to measure and understand here.
So return on ad spend on each stage of the milestones that it passes through. So they're like micro conversions.
Exactly. Or you can actually think about how to divvy up attribution. So you can say this DSP campaign, which up until now we've not had money stats on, we can actually see that our efforts to meet people who are in market for fitness equipment has led to 10 conversions in the past week and a half because we've put a substantial amount of spend. And those people eventually down the funnel have turned into customers. That's one piece that I feel has been missing from DSP for several years now. And I feel like with this, we're finally able to put some of those puzzle pieces together. And it's really fun to sit there and, to continue the analogy, stick the pieces together and figure out how they fit together.
So what is optimal for you? If you were to break that down, we just discussed the touchstones, these, if you call them micro conversion or micro staged touch points, right? and then you want to attribute to those touch points. How would you go about that to benchmark it? You know what? So give me a couple of examples of, oh, it's gone here, here, here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now that's gone there, that attribution there, that we're going to attribute X, Y, and Z. So how would you attribute?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I actually don't think I have a solid answer for you, because we've been doing this for about a month. And here's how I can frame it.
Yeah, how you frame it. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, here's how I would frame it. You know, we actually have the tools now to understand which campaigns are contributing to what a lot of people would call like incrementality, right? So the small increases over time that we are making towards a higher overall revenue, higher top line, or in some cases, net new customers. Because where DSP really shines is at higher spend levels and being able to address net new customers and drive incremental growth. What we've determined, looking at our own data, is that a lot of the retargeting efforts in DSP are not doing really anything for new customers. That's not surprising. They're retargeting, right? But even if you look at it over a longer time period, you're not driving a lot of net new customers. The ROAS might look good, but if you look at it from a multi-touch ROAS perspective, it's actually quite low. And you're much better off investing in the middle and top of funnel, although it takes time and money to figure that out. You have to test it, you have to be patient, and it takes a good deal of time to figure out.
But for the bigger sellers, like a lot of this stuff, you know, it's them small percentages for the more larger high volume in terms of sellers is where you get the benefits. If you're doing low six figures, a lot of stuff is going to be irrelevant. So you work on what's important. But as you scale and people get past 7, mid 7 to 8 figures and beyond, this is where the detail really matters, and tools like this come into play because they can actually make financially a big difference. Because obviously as people grow to 8 figures, what goes down first? Your net margins start to evaporate, right? No one sticks at the same margins as they grow. That's why it's growth. In most cases, when you add human capital and you grow things, generally these things cost more, don't they? And so when you're doing that, especially when you're doing, you know, attribution to customers, you know, long-term value of the customer, all these different aspects, you know, if you've got products that are consumables, versus what I call static, where you would maybe sell them as a once off or maybe a once a year. That's where this detail stuff really matters, because it's the difference between saving thousands and hundreds of thousands in some cases, even on the small percentages.
Yeah, and being able to measure where people are coming in the funnel for you makes a lot more sense if you are a huge brand and you have the budget to do like OTT video, for example, on DSP at scale, which can reach a huge amount of people and can be really effective for this. Now, some of this for me is still theoretical because we don't have clients that have enough budget to do that. Now we're working on trying to convince some of them, because now we have the tool we're armed with to be able to tell them if it's working or not.
Cool. What else have we got to cover here?
I would say 2 other ideas that are cool. So we talked about MT ROAS, like multi-touch ROAS, right? So there's another thing that a lot of Amazon sellers are probably familiar with called NTB, new to brand. And this is something I think you see in sponsored brands mostly as an ad type, right? So, you know, who has bought from this campaign that is not purchased in the past 12 months, I believe is what new to brand is, right? And Amazon has that information, although they've never really like shared it with us. We can actually get much more in depth on there now. And we can get new to brand for sponsored products, for people who come through DSP. Sponsored brands is actually not in AMC yet, although sponsored display is. I know that sponsored brands is coming like later this year, early next year. But this idea of new to brand, I think, should be higher profile with Amazon 3P sellers, business owners. And this tool can help you understand new to brand across all the different channels and how they compose together. Because ultimately, you might have a campaign, and you can do this with the XPN tool that we've been playing around with. Like, you can see a campaign and you can understand what percentage of people in that campaign are new to brand, or some of them that are called NTE, new to engage, which means the first time they've actually touched your brand, whether that is like an impression or a detailed page view, or, you know, they clicked an ad several times. And you can quickly understand which of these campaigns are driving these new to brand purchases, which of these are getting people in and having them engage with you for the first time. And then you can make optimization choices and decisions, you know, based on these metrics that you really are actually after, not just this kind of hammer of like ROAS, where everything is seen through the lens of ROAS. This is a very common, I would say, mindset thing we need to try to educate our customers and friends in the Amazon space about. So having the tool to actually measure it and then optimizing towards that outcome is really very exciting. So I'm jazzed about this, as you might be able to tell.
I can see you're excited. And the second point?
Those are it, actually. New to engage and new to brand.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And then the last thing I want to talk about with AMC is it's very early days. It's very manual, right? So I heard this like through the grapevine, but basically, we work with this company, XPN. They go talk to the AMC team. That is small. That is a small team of people at Amazon. And I'm not sure if this is hearsay or true, but one of the guys at the AMC team was on holiday. So we had requested something of them and we didn't get it because he was just out of office.
Right.
So you have to understand this is like, it's like cottage industry. It's like a group of guys and gals who are at Amazon. I don't know how many. Maybe it adheres to the Amazon 2 pizza rule and there's only 12 of them, right? Yeah. But some guy was on holiday and so he couldn't get access to something. So understand that this is very early days for this. And they are adding new stuff. Like I log into the AMC dashboard today and I looked at the documentation. On the 22nd of August, they had an update. They added a bunch of new stuff. Every week, or every 2 weeks, they're adding new things. So expect to see this grow and grow. One thing that's really cool is how this interacts with DSP. It does work with sponsored products and sponsored ads, which I don't think we covered enough, but DSP is really the use case that I was excited for. And it is possible for us to actually see, and DSP, you have what's called an overlap report, which is like, here are the audiences that are similar to the audiences you're targeting. Here's how likely they are to have similar outcomes to the ones you're targeting. What you can do with AMC data is actually look at that same thing, but just universally across Amazon. And so it'll say, oh, this is a in-market audience you might consider that's similar to something you're already targeting. And in the future, we'll be able to have the ability to actually pull that audience out and like push it into DSP. So we can just have a direct connection between the two, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah. Cool. So top down, just to give an overview, what we just discussed as key takeaways. So 1, how do they access it? 2, where does the user case comes in and what size seller would benefit the most, etc.
Yeah. So number 1, how do I access it? Now there are probably some out there listening to this that have direct access to someone at Amazon who can give it to them. Yeah. An agency my size, we had to go through a software company for now. We do have our own AMC instance, and actually each client has their own instance. It's not like sponsored products where there's a drop down, or DSP where you have everybody housed under one thing. For data segmentation, privacy reasons, Amazon's very particular about everything having its own instance. It's a data clean room is what they call it. So you probably need to go through a software company at this point to do it. And who is it right for? I would say companies that are spending a significant amount of money already on ads, upwards of, let's say, 70, 80K USD a month on sponsored ads, and, upwards of 10K on DSP is probably about the minimums I would want to set an expectation for, because then you have enough data to actually look at it and make sense. And sorry, what was your last question?
Well, last question, who did it benefit most in size of sellers? And the question I should have asked is, how do you get the most out of it? Which is a broad question, but we already discussed. A reminder is that with the attribution, what did you call them? MT attributions?
MT ROAS. So multi-touch ROAS. Yeah.
Multi-touch ROAS. And then looking at those and segmenting them, because you made an interesting point with about retargeting. It's hitting the same audience over and over again. It's okay if you've got consumable goods and stuff and they keep coming back as loyal customers, but it doesn't build on new ones. So whilst it's a great attribution to have in your canon, that doesn't do anything for new customer.
Exactly. And actually it's okay if that's the case, because you'll tap out of that audience for retargeting or similar audience targeting at some point. That's a small pool of people. But if you want to use the real power of DSP, which is that push marketing, so you're going and getting in front of people who you never have seen your brand, you need a way to accurately measure that. And that's what is, for me, the most exciting thing about AMC right now. There's going to be a whole bunch of other things in 6 months. And my prediction actually right now, I'll say it on the show, I think the next 6 months. Okay, the next 6 months is going to see a big revolution in what we can get out of Amazon advertising data, not just with AMC, but AMS, the third version of the sponsored products like API. There's all kinds of stuff coming down the pike. It's very exciting. And I kind of think it's funny that Amazon, who was a company who kept all this information very close to their vest for years. They didn't show their cards. They are now just saying, hey, here's our database. Go run SQL queries, use the API, have fun. And it's almost like they've given us more information than Facebook or Google ever has. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens when the government's up your ass, I suppose, and starting to break up your companies. Stuff like that gives you an incentive, I suppose.
Yeah. It's called what is it? FCC chairwoman, I guess, Lisa Khan. Yeah, she's here to stay.
They're here to stay. So have all the data. Don't worry. You enjoy it. Yeah.
Go wild.
Cool. All right. What is the best way that everyone can reach you if they want to reach out about things? Yeah.
If they want to get to Pathfinder, our company, that's just amcpathfinder.com. If they want to reach me, you can actually go to brent.bike. I bought that URL and have a little landing page on there. Yeah. And if you want to talk to XPN, these are the guys that we've been working with for AMC. Find them on LinkedIn. They're very responsive to LinkedIn. It's just literally XPN. I think it's short for exponential. But David and Roy, great guys. They've been really helpful and have held our hands and taught us a lot in this experience so far. So credit to them.
Sounds good. Guys, thank you for joining us today. Brent, thank you for joining us. I'll be back here next week. So will Izza and Sharon. Take care of yourself and your family. Much love.